And I would love to say that everybody, it's so easy to have an average 28-day cycle all the time, etc. But that's not always easy, right? It's really easy to get thrown off. How do you get thrown off with that? Stress, not sleeping well, having an illness, right? There's a ton of different things that can happen where your cycle would get thrown off. But by supporting your system, just using your foods, just tweaking it, warming and cooling like this is a great way to support that cycle regulation overall. Hey there, welcome to the Female Health Solution podcast, where we discuss women's health, hormones, and everything else in between. Join me as we dive into the tools that you need to live your healthiest life. I kind of matched my background today. Isn't that nice? Not planned, just how it worked out. So let's talk about eating for your cycle, using food to balance your hormones. This sounds almost crazy. This sounds like, why would this work? Why would anybody want to do this? This doesn't make sense. But the more we learn about female physiology and how our systems naturally work and function, the more we can do to integrate little things on a daily basis to support that. So when I talk about eating for your hormones or eating to balance your hormones, the one thing to understand is that your hormones are not the same all month long. So the balance isn't making everything even Steven. So often we think of in our heads that everything should be the same. I should wake up and be the same every day. And if I'm not, then something's wrong with me. This is a very male-centric outlook, right? And that our bodies should be the same day to day, week to week, month to month, and any variation is bad. When in reality, that is how our systems were created. And when we utilize that for a benefit, it can be sort of a superpower. Isn't that cool? And it's one of those things, again, I have 2 teenage daughters right now, and in school, whenever they talk about any of, reproductive health or things like that, they don't give helpful information into understanding why your body does what it does throughout the month. They're only giving you information of, oh, you're going to have cramps or be moody at certain times. Okay, that's framing everything in a way that sounds really negative, and that there's something wrong with you during certain times of the month. That the default is being perfect, right? Which is not how our systems go. When in reality, if you're feeling like you have mood swings or cramps or things like that, you can have excess inflammation. You can have a lot of fatigue. You can have these other things going on because you haven't been supporting your system correctly, nutritionally, throughout the month. A lot of cravings are due to your body needs more magnesium. Yes, your body needs more minerals before you have your period. Absolutely. So you're going to have a craving because your body is going to tell you that. The body never does anything without a reason. It's giving you signals, right? It can't write things down. It's not a manual that you read. You have to pay attention to these signs and signals that your system is giving you and understand what they're really saying. The fatigue and mood swings and all that stuff, you need more sleep. You need more sleep. You need quality rest. And that is very, very normal. So if you are push, go, go, and you are not letting your system rest, recover, recuperate, then you're going to be more fatigued. You're going to have more mood swings, things like that. Now, I'm not saying it's just as simple as that for a solution, but again, it's more understanding how our system is throughout the month and giving yourself the grace, dare I say permission, giving yourself permission to lean into how your body functions naturally and not punish yourself or think that anything is wrong or think that you're doing something wrong or feel like you're ruining something because you're not performing like this. You're not performing in a vacuum. You're not, exactly the same, because you're not. You're not exactly the same. The male body is the same, not the female body. When we talk about the balance of hormones, keep in mind that some of that change happens and occurs with basal body temperature. When people talk about foods for your hormones, eat cruciferous veggies, have a raw carrot salad and all of that. Great. And that's not a bad thing to do by any means, But just understand that that's like not enough. That's not it. It's not just that, right? We'd want to do a little more, maybe. Right? A little more, meaning working with our system. And so what I talk about and teach is working with your basal body temperature. Your basal body temperature is lower in the first 2 weeks of your cycle and then higher in the second 2 weeks. So weeks 1 and 2, days 1 through 14, roughly, your basal body temperature should be lower and stay lower. And we want it to do that. That is a natural phase or situation for our body to have. And at that time, then, if your basal body temperature is lower, stays lower, is consistent there, your system is in a position where it can create and maintain the right amount of estrogens for your body. Estrogen does some really important things. Builds lean muscle, builds up that uterine lining. That's really important. It helps with memory and habit forming, all of this stuff, digestion, right? These are just a few things I'm throwing out here. And then after you ovulate, progesterone elevates. And progesterone is the dominant hormone at that time. You have to ovulate to create progesterone. Our bodies are not in the same phase then. They are not geared towards just like pushing out all of this, go, go, go mode. Our basal body temperature elevates, our digestive system slows down, our recovery from things slows down. We need more rest. We need more protein. We need more minerals, all of these things. So it's a different focus, really, for our system. Very normal, but different focus. Okay. So then what does that mean? Does that mean that if we are not leaning into that change in basal body temperature, that we're ruining something? No, but we're fighting against a natural flow that our system wants to be in. And we don't need to fight with our systems any more than we already do. So lean into that. So what I talk about is eating cooling foods when our basal body temperature is lower, and then warming foods when our basal body temperature is elevated. Weeks 1 and 2, days 1 through 14, cooling foods, lower basal body temperature. Warming foods, days 15 through 28 about, and weeks 3 and 4, warming foods. Basal body temperature is elevated. Let's lean into that. Let's work with that. That's it. That's the basis foundation for everything. Now, are there variations on this? Are there other for sure, right? But just getting started with that can be super helpful to get your system on track. And the more women I talk to that I explain this to, they're like, oh, that totally makes sense. Oh my gosh, that's so great. I love this. One, that makes sense. Two, how come I didn't hear about this before? Probably because you've just been living in a way and existing in a way that is geared towards a male body. And that's not to say that it's wrong. It's just not right. It's not the right fit. And so often, if you're I eat the same nutrients every day. I eat the same thing for breakfast, lunch, and dinner 3 times a day, all month long. Okay. How does that feel for you? How does that work out for you? How are you doing with that? Are you able to continue with having good hormonal balance, feeling good with no symptoms? Okay, then fine. But if you're really wondering, why am I struggling with this or that? Or why do I feel like I need more food here? Or why am I craving spicier food here? It's because your system is telling you something. And tweaking your food is something that's really easy to do. It's really easy to do. You can prepare foods however you like them. You can include your family in on this, right? I am married. I have 3 children. I have a boy, then 2 girls, and my husband and we eat this way. We eat this way, and it's really easy to do and maintain because that's just how it goes. I don't know. And it doesn't impact my husband or my son negatively at all to follow this pattern, because I also do little tweaks to my specific meal or dish that change it. For example, when we're having tacos or something in the evening, I will make sure I don't put spices on them, and I use more cilantro during weeks 1 and 2. During weeks 3 and 4, I will pile on the hot sauce, all the peppers, all the spiciness. Wonderful. Little tweak makes a big difference. I will flavor even my tea, my green tea. I will flavor my shakes differently. So I love a chocolate shake in the morning. I use coffee because I have children. And then I put in chocolate, protein powder, and then I will put in, for cooling, peppermint, and for warming, cinnamon. Sometimes nutmeg if I'm feeling fancy, but that's a great way to tweak it, warming, cooling. I love green tea, and I will also add lemon ginger, right? Just because I like the flavor of lemon and ginger together for warming. But for cooling, I will use mint, spearmint tea in with my green tea. And so I have these little, tea packets that I've just been plain green tea, and then I have mint, and then I have lemon ginger, and I just pick which one I'm in for the week. Again, this doesn't have to be a major overhaul. You don't have to clean out your entire pantry or kitchen. That's the thing that makes it so easy to do and start to integrate and start to work with. You use foods that you like, cook it how you want, just start to lean towards cooling and warming. Start learning more about your body. Start listening, paying attention to what your system's telling you and leaning into that difference. Now, when we're using food to balance our hormones, we're using the tone of the food to work with our basal body temperature. And what that's going to do is allow us to support a regulated cycle because we have a pattern that we're going off of. Your hormones are impressionable. And I would love to say that everybody, it's so easy to have an average 28-day cycle all the time, etc. But that's not always easy. And things can get in the way of that, right? It's really easy to get thrown off. How do you get thrown off with that? Stress, not sleeping well, having an illness, right? There's a ton of different things that can happen where your cycle would get thrown off. But by supporting your system, just using your foods, just tweaking it, warming and cooling like this is a great way to support that cycle regulation overall. Now, there's other things that we look at, in general. If we're looking at specifics for a hormone test for you or saying, oof, we got to work on getting rid of this excess estrogen or work with adrenals or something like that, there would, of course, be other recommendations around that. Sometimes when I do other testing, gut testing or, genetic testing, we'll talk about inflammatory foods or histamine foods or what those do as well, which can narrow down what we're working with in terms of nutrition overall. But in general, when we're talking about eating for your hormones, it really is just as simple as the cooling and the warming, figuring out what day you're on of your cycle, cooling, warming. There you go. It's really fantastic. And I have seen again and again and again, so many amazing results with this, with that simple change. Now, the other thing to keep in mind is that this doesn't happen overnight, right? Of course it doesn't. It doesn't happen overnight where you're going to notice, oh, I feel incredible. And I've been doing this for 2 days, right? I'm also super skeptical of literally anything that would brag results like that. I've been eating for my cycle for 3 days and it's all better now. All the 10 problems I had before are miraculously gone. Baloney. So it does take a while, meaning it can take 2 or 3 cycles for you to really see the full benefit of this. But it's very similar to something like seed cycling, adding something like this in that's going to help benefit you overall. So that's what I got for you guys today. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for being here and listening to the Female Health Solution podcast. Let me know if you have any other questions. Let me know if there's anything else that pops up for you. But otherwise, I appreciate you. And have a great rest of your day. Thank you for joining me on today's episode. If you would like more information, just head on over to drbethwesty.com for all the show notes and information from today's episode. And if you're looking for more community, more support, you can find and follow me on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, and I would love to see you there.